Well, tēnā koutou katoa, ngā mihi nui ki koutou. Good afternoon. Look, the Green Party is absolutely delighted today that Golriz Ghahraman will be joining us in our caucus as the 8th Member of Parliament for the Green Party in the 52nd Parliament of New Zealand. So Golriz, of course, many of you know, first came to New Zealand as a 9-year-old refugee from Iran. And so this is actually an historic moment for the Parliament of New Zealand because we now have our first parliamentarian who came to New Zealand as a refugee. Golriz is also a very high-profile human rights lawyer who has taken cases in The Hague against war criminals from former Yugoslav Republic, Cambodia, and other parts of the world as well. So she brings a tremendous kind of personal history, a personal story, and some real unique talents and experience to the Green Caucus. So we're absolutely delighted to have Golriz on board as one of our 8 members of Parliament. The other thing, of course, that's significant about today's announcement is that not only did the Greens gain an MP, so did the Labour Party, and of course the National Party dropped 2 of its MPs, taking it to a 56-54 split between the National Party and the Labour Green bloc. And as I said on election night, a majority of New Zealanders on election night, a slim majority admittedly, voted for change. And what today's result demonstrates is actually that majority for change has now been extended. And I believe that increases the case for a change of government and for a new environmentally friendly progressive government of New Zealand. And so that is what we are working towards, and that is, I would imagine, what we're going to be very busy with over the coming days, is negotiating the shape and form of that new government. And that is a prospect that I and we in the Green Party are extremely excited about the prospects of that. That's what I've got to say in terms of opening remarks. Golriz and I are happy to take any questions from you now.
Does this give you more bargaining power with Winston?
No, I mean, like I said, I think on election night, there was already a majority for change. I believe that that has now been extended, and so the case for change has increased rather than stayed the same or decreased. I'm really pleased about that. To me, it's not really about bargaining power or anything like that. It's about the fact that a majority of New Zealanders wanted change and not the status quo. And we can see from today's result that actually it was even more significant than we thought on election night.
So what happens from here? Do you just wait for a phone call from Winston Peters, or do you wait for a phone call from Jacinda Ardern?
Well, as I've said before, I anticipate that Labour will take the lead in negotiating individually with the Green Party and with New Zealand First, and that at some point, if we're going to form a government together, that we'll have to get in a room together, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
So will that start straight away tonight?
It'll start, I would imagine it'll start quite soon, Lloyd. Yeah.
Do you think you're more entitled to ministerial portfolios now with this extra space?
Well, I mean, obviously, the fact that we've sort of narrowed the gap with New Zealand First, they're on 9 MPs, we're on 8, I think means that there is a case for a level of proportionality there. But again, everything is sort of up for negotiation. We don't know what form that government is going to take, and so we'll just have to leave that part of the process until we get to it.
Is it something you'd give up if Winston demanded?
Is what something?
Is it possible that you'd accept that you wouldn't get a portfolio if it's something that Winston...
No, the Greens have always said that we wanted to be at the heart of the next progressive government. The things that, I mean, we didn't just want to change the government for the sake of changing the government. We wanted to change the government because we are committed to making New Zealand a world leader in the fight against climate change, to cleaning up all of our rivers and to ending poverty in this country. And so we believe that we can do that best if we are a core part of the government. I've also said before that I actually think the most stable form of government with a three-way coalition is a full coalition in which we're all in the tent. And I think that there's a strong case for that. And I actually think that the results today have increased the case for that.
Do you have a good working relationship with Winston Peters and his caucus?
I certainly with his caucus. I've got a polite and cordial relationship with Winston. We haven't had a lot of interactions, but I get on very well with a number of his MPs, people like Fletcher Tabuto, Tracy Martin, and so on.
He's made no secret of the fact that he doesn't like Greens change zones as well. Can you, I guess, swallow a few to get into government?
Well, look, a lot has changed over history. I think most of the people who say that are referring to 2005, which, as I keep reminding people, is 12 years ago, and a lot has changed in that period of time. So I believe that we've got a lot of areas of commonality, and as I said on election night, I think it is actually incumbent upon all of our parties, to look for what is common rather than for what divides us. I mean, the election campaign, you lay out your stall, you look for points of distinction, but once the voters have spoken, you say, okay, now we need to come together for the sake of the country and to put in place a common program for government. So we're looking for the areas of overlap now.
And what is more stable, do you think? Greens, Labour and New Zealand First, or National New Zealand First?
I think that Greens, Labour and New Zealand First can provide a very stable government for New Zealand, be a responsible government that goes the full distance.
Well, so it'll be more stable than if Winston Peters went with National?
I can't comment on hypotheticals like that. We would just have to wait and see. I note that the last time that New Zealand First worked with National, it didn't end well. But that was, as I say, a long time ago, and anything could happen.
And it didn't end well when you went with Labour.
I think a lot of things have changed over the course of the last 20 years. I think all of the parties in Parliament have learned a great deal about what makes MMP work. One of the things I'm really excited about with this opportunity is actually that we will have probably the first true MMP government in having kind of three parties together in a full coalition. That is the result that I've been looking for. And I think there's an opportunity for us to try and break out of this kind of culture around first past the post that we seem to still have 20 years after we moved to MMP. I think we've got an opportunity here to demonstrate how well that can work and move towards a more mature form of MMP government like you see replicated in, say, Germany or other parts of Northern Europe.
Has there been any progress on the Teal deal, or is that something that you're willing to put to bed now?
No, there has been no progress on that, and as I said in the stand-up a few days ago, there's a lot of kind of smoke and noise around that, but no real substance. I mean, we haven't had a phone call. I don't anticipate a phone call. We're really busy working on forming a new government. That's what we've been working on for the last 18 months. We're going to do that. And again, like I said before, I think today's result demonstrates that actually that is the more likely outcome at this point.
What do you say to people who say National have the moral mandate because they've got the biggest party?
I would say that the moral mandate is the party that can put together a majority in Parliament to form a new government. There are a number of other jurisdictions around the world where you've got multi-party democracies like ours, where it's perfectly normal for a party that isn't actually the largest single party to be able to form a government because it has more allies in the House. That is now the case that we've got here in New Zealand, I believe, and I think that that's what we need to kind of get used to, is that notion that actually in multi-party democracies it's about a majority in the House, not simply a large number of seats. It's actually irrelevant if you can't put together a government. And one of the things about MMP, of course, is that the whole point is to be able to form a parliamentary majority. That means that you need to build consensus not just within your own party, but between different parties as well. And so I think we've got a real opportunity here in New Zealand to have that first proper MMP government.
Doris, how does it feel to be the first refugee?
Incredibly humbling and exciting. Yeah, I'm excited.
Are you nervous?
Like James said, I used to put genocideers and war criminals on trial. So I think I am just enormously humbled. This is a moment in time now where a 9-year-old refugee girl, can grow up in this country to enter our House of Representatives. And that really speaks to the Green Party's and to New Zealand's values. And we get to stand as a counterpart now to the politics of Trumpism and division and hate and Brexit, and I'm really proud of that.
What do you want to achieve?
I want to end poverty in New Zealand, and I want to see real action taken on climate change, and I think the Green Party has always been a party that stands up for the most vulnerable, whether that's nature or whether that's our vulnerable people, and we haven't been taking care of those for a while now in New Zealand. I want to get back to it.
You talked about standing up for Trumpism. Winston Peters kind of plays that role in our system. Would you be happy to go into government with him?
Yes, this is about democracy, and as James has just said, we've seen that the majority of New Zealanders do want us to work together and to form the next government and change this government. So yes, absolutely.
And what about the stance on immigrants who wants to cut immigration right down to 10,000, close our borders to people who are in your situation? What do you make of that?
Well, immigration for the Green Party has always been about taking care of people. And again, you know, we want to get back to making new jobs happen, investing in infrastructure, investing in housing, investing in our people, and immigration will then come into that as well. That's what we'll work with them on.
I guess what I'm getting at is, would you be happy to go into power with someone who hates immigrants?
I'm absolutely happy to work with anyone in this democratic system, and people have voted for Winston Peters and they've voted for us to work with him and to create that next stable government. So yes, absolutely.
Have you talked to parents? Do they say?
Yes, they are. They're very excited. They're very cute and excited. So for them, it's just an incredible, it's an unthinkable moment of pride. So, you know, they just wanted to get me out of a situation where there might be more wars and where women were treated as second-class citizens, and they never would have dreamt that I could then, you know, enter a government here in our new home. So they're very proud.
Did you dream of being an MP? Was it always your goal when you were there?
No, I have devoted my life to standing up for human rights and for democracy as someone who has seen the world without those things. So my dream has kind of come from standing up for the most vulnerable, and at this point in my life, this is the best forum to do that. I think we need systemic change, so that's why I'm doing it.
You talked about women, standing up for women, your caucus.
This is what meritocracy looks like. I could not be more proud and more excited to stand with any group of people. It's just been incredible, and they've included me in caucus meetings. You know, that's what we did all day yesterday, and these are just incredible people. I can't wait for New Zealand to see what we can do together.
Are you interested in going for co-leader?
No.
Not at all?
Not at all. No, I know the work that I want to do and what I want to achieve, so that's not on the cards for me this round.
Obviously a positive outcome for the Green Party, but what about the loss of Mojo?
That's been personally heartbreaking for me because I've valued her work both in conservation and in animal rights and on disabilities issues, which is something that's close to my heart. So I act for the family carers who are trying to get fair pay in the courts now, the family carers of disabled persons, which is something Catherine Darahante also worked on. So in terms of disabilities and representation, Mojo has been a huge loss and huge shoes to fill for any of us who do any of, to pick up any of her work streams.
All right, thanks everyone.
The song swings between grim electronics and an outro that sees the band at their most anthemic. Switching from quiet to loud was a trademark of Mogwais since their first songs, an oral dichotomy which mirrors the Mogwai gremlin dynamic from the 80s movie that gave the band their name. But here again it's approached with a fresh palette, layering on slabs of noise rather than just hitting the distortion pedal.